Hey everybody, I have something awesome to show you guys. So if you want to nerd out with me on macro programming, on deeper settings and stuff, this is the video. Let's jump in. So, in order to monitor the tool life on every single end mill, we've got 30 tools in this machine. I've been trying to figure out ways to monitor the tool life. You can do it, there's a way on the machine that monitors by like minutes or hours or whatever. I don't like it for various reasons. Since we machine basically repeat production of our Norseman pallets, I want to know how many pallets a tool can last for. 1/4 inch 5 flute rougher, I want to know how many pallets, how long that lasts for, and when to replace it early so that I don't run into a problem with a late worn out tool. So what I came up with, if we look close here, so you click on this machine, you click on settings, and then number 23 is your macro variables. There's 0 to 200, and then there's 500 to 1000 to 999 macros. So I'm using the 800 block as my counter, and then my 900 block as my limit. So if we look in close here, 801 is my tool number 1 in the machine, tool number 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, all the way up to 100. Tool number 1 is, I know it's a 1/8 inch ball. It's run for 17 pallets. It was last replaced July 23rd, which is like a week ago. It's August 1st today. So if I'm on 801, if I go 901 number search, my limit is 24. So I've still got a little bit more. Still got another, however many pallets that is. 7 pallets. 801. So for every tool, we have it done. So tool 16, I know, is our 1/4 inch rougher. It's done 2 pallets. It was replaced yesterday. Last night's 2 pallets. After every single pallet, when the tool gets used, I'll show you a little bit later. The macro counter goes +1. You know, so if it's using tool 16, it goes 816 +1, because you want the current value plus 1 more digit. And then for the 900 series, the numbers that I'm putting in here are just historical. I've been tracking this for over 2 years. So I know that, you know, whatever, 12 pallets is a good number, because I've tried 20 and it didn't work, or it breaks at 17. So I want to set it below the breaking point where it's happy. And I'd rather replace it early when it's good, as opposed to stretching it out and making bad parts, making bad holes or whatever. Conversely, if you pull it out too early and you look at the tool under the microscope and stuff, then it looks perfect, you know that you can stretch it a little bit longer in the 900s. So this has been critical to our operation. It's allowed us to look into the future, which I'm going to show you guys how we really look into the future. But it basically, it ensures that we're not running tools that are past their life, that are worn out. We want to replace them ahead of time. Now, originally when we first did this system, it's actually running a program right now, but the second you hit cycle start, it would say, oh, tool 16 worn out. It would alarm. You go to replace tool 16, and then you hit cycle start again, and it reads through, and it goes, oh, tool 32 worn out. And then you replace 32, and then you go back, and oh, tool 49 worn out. And it was really annoying to do one by one. So I was like, why can't we just figure out all of them in one go? So let's go to the computer. I'm going to show you guys how we look into the future. So this screen right here is where all the magic happens. I have a lot of recordings going on right now. Screen recording, side recording, lapel mic. Anyway, I bet you Yo's going to come up right now. Ha! Called it.
Oh no. Are you guys filming right now?
We are. Okay, where to start? This gets kind of complicated. Let's go full nerd on this. Okay, anyway, this is the dashboard we check every day. You see on the left-hand side here, we have all of our variables. So tool 801 is tool 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Essentially, when I click run script and we say, let's say I want to run 2 pallets next, it says I have to replace 1 tool, which is tool 49. Not surprised. If I want to run, for example, 22 pallets, all these red ones and 16 tools will have to be replaced in order to safely have enough tool life to run the full 22 pallets, which is ridiculous. Normally we only do 2 because we have 2 pallets on the machine at one time. So this is great. This lets us look into the future. This, I'll show you in a second here, but this uses the variables that are on the machine and compares the 800s to the 900s and compares to how many pallets I want to run. And then it just tells me what to do. And there's a little date field up here. It says Thursday, August 1st, which is this morning at 8:59 in the morning. Angelo came in, ran it. So here's some footage of how we generate the information for this, how we get the file, the DPrint file. I was born to explain DPrint. Okay, DPrint 101. Step 1, need a USB stick. Step 2, on my machine, we need to go into settings, we need to go 61. I need to flip these two thingies from DC operation IO channel 15 to 4, and then from user area to media, which means it'll read or write from the stick first. So I always have to do that first. And then if we go into 23, these are all my macro variables. I'm trying to dump all of those onto the USB stick. Some of the tools I just changed, tool 37, just changed today. Set the counter back to 0. And then go to the DNC side. Here is my DPrint program, which is just a subroutine call to G65P888, so code 888. Let's go over to the memory main side. Let's find code 888. Open it up. I'll show you what this guy's structured like. So to make a DPrint, you need a P open. You need to DPrint in your bracket. I'm DPrinting the number 1, like the digit number 1, comma for a space, I think. XXX as a delineator later. Variable number 1. The 80 means, I think it means 4 digits before the 0, or 4 digits after the 0, and 0 digits before the 0. Whereas some of these are like 4 before and 4 after. I don't know why they're different. They're probably all fine 4. And then I have an AAA as my delineator afterwards, so that my Google script program can kind of slice it all apart. So it can find the XXX and it can delete, or it can add a break there, a line break. And that has worked very well. So if we edit and we scroll down to that, it's got all 900 variables at the end of that. And then don't worry about that, but there's a P close and then an M30, and that's it. So that is how I make the DPrint work from the machine side. If I rewind that, and then I go here, from my subroutine, I can hit cycle start, and the LED will start flashing on the USB stick. And once it's done flashing, we have a successful DPrint. And then I go back here and I go over, up, 15, done. Set the settings back to normal. And then my files are on here. So we take that USB stick, we put it into a computer, and then we move it into this folder, into my Google Drive, my Mori macro files folder, which is synced across all my computers, all my drives. The second it goes in this folder, well, let me show you what one looks like right now. So this is the information that comes off. 1 XXX is variable number 1 on the machine, and I've got variables all the way up to 999, like I was saying, every single variable. The X's are delineators, is that the right word? They allow the script to know the difference between characters. So it says, if you see XXX, it's switching to another variable. If you see AAA, it means next line. So we programmatically kind of figured that out to help us do that. So now it knows variable 1 is currently a 0. If I look down, variable 510 is 1168, which might be the probe diameter, I'm not sure. But if we look down, we go variable 801 is 22. This is for an old file, by the way. I don't know when this is from. It's July 22nd. So anyway, this has every single variable from the machine, and then the second you drop it into this folder, we have a script that sees that folder. When you click Run Script, it looks into that folder, it pulls all the data, it inserts it into the spreadsheet, and then it moves the file from here to the archive folder, so we have them all archived. I don't ever need them again, but it's nice to get them out of the main loop and into a backup folder. So we click Run Script. What happens when you click Run Script? Google Sheets is super duper duper awesome because it's so powerful. And if you want to do something, you just Google it and you learn how to do it. Or as I did in this case, you pay a programmer on UpWork like less than $100, not very much money, to nerd out and do their expertise. I say, I want this to happen, and they go, okay, that's simple, it's easy. Whereas to me, it's like crazy. So back on the screen now, if we go Tools, Script Editor, this opens up the script editor in Google Sheets. It's just like Excel, but it's better. I don't know if it's better, but it's great. That's what I use for everything. So this is the code that the programmer came up with in order to extract the information. I don't really make sense of it. In this hidden spot that hopefully is hidden and you can't see right now, folder ID, this looks on my Google Drive at a certain folder and is looking for that file. And then var variable folder, get folder ID, and move to the archive folder. There's lots of stuff going on here that I don't fully understand. And I don't need to understand because I paid somebody to do it. Let's see if I can find the XX and AA sections. Here we go. Var reading arrays file text split, look for AAA, look for XXX. So that just works. So basically, when you click Run Script, it sees if there's a file here, and then it automatically fills in everything. And it's great. So that we come in the morning, load new files, it says, oh, we got to replace one tool. I just added this replace this many tools section like last Friday. I'm super happy with how that worked out. Because if you see the code at the top here equals count colored cells, column G to G R1. That is actually a custom script as well, count colored cells. I found this online. This piece of script, and then another one for some colored cells. And it is counting the red cells in this column, which is sweet. So if I go to 22, it's counting 14 cells are actually red, or 16 cells. And you see it says loading while it's thinking. So that's pretty cool. Anyway, I forget how I did this run script button, but I used to have it run every 5 minutes, but it got annoying waiting 4.5 minutes for it to load, so I added this button. I don't even remember how I did it, but it does something. It has an action. I don't know, but it works. Works great. What I've also done here at the bottom is I've got a historical tracking of every single variable every time we've pulled it. May, June, July at the bottom. So if I go to 8 to 900s, I started doing charts, but it didn't really work as well as I expected it to, just due to the variability of when we're pulling data. It's kind of weird. But if we look at tool 801, I've got min, max, average, and you can kind of see if I go near the bottom, every time we pull it, it adds a new column at the bottom. Oops. So, yeah, I don't often use these. I use this one every single day, and it worked great. The trick is, I don't want to use the USB stick anymore. I want to be able to, I want that data to automatically deprint every single time from the machine, say at the end of every cycle. When it hits M30, it automatically deprints. And then just goes to my Google Drive, done, automatically synced. That's my goal. I can't figure it out yet. The other thing I wanted to show is maybe put this earlier in the video, maybe put it later, I'm not sure. How am I deprinting all of those variables onto the USB stick? DPrint is a fairly easy function. However, it got tricky to do it for every variable all the way down. But I'll show you how I do it. This is the beginning of my Norseman fixture code. We have 140,000 lines of code. This does everything. Handles, blades, clips, everything. I have modified my Fanuc post-processor from Fusion 360 to automatically output, you've got your 0555, and then automatically output the tool data, assigning each tool number to variables 1 to 30. 1 to 30 are those temporary hidden ones that are super temporary. The second you leave that subroutine, they disappear. They're super temporary. But all I needed for is I needed to write to those variables and then read this very next line, and then it'll tell me if it's good. So I don't even remember how I did it, but this is the Fanuc post processor. I've got little notes in here. John testing to output tool number in a macro variable. It works. November 5th, 2017. So something in here works great. I'm also checking for a duplicate tool number. I'm also checking for a couple different things. Tool check macro. So I want to write, this is for the next line, I guess. So this lets the macros know that I've got tool 1, tool 3, tool 5, tool 6, tool 7, tool 9. Because what would happen before is if we had, let's say we didn't have the last tool, say we didn't have tool 80 installed in the machine. For whatever reason, we pulled it out, needed something else. It would machine the entire pallet until it got to tool 80, and then it would say, hey, where's tool 80? And then it would just hang up an alarm there overnight, all day, whatever. So I needed a way to be able to pre-check to make sure that all the tools are in the machine. So I got the post processor to output all of these, and then the pre-check, which I believe is this one. So G65 P8101 is a subroutine. I'll show you on the next screen. Looking for A is variable 1, B is variable 2, C, I, J, K again, IJK 3 times, and trust me, it just works. I'm surprised it goes IJK so many times. But it works. To pre-check all the tools, this is the Mori Dur vertical code. I had to ask the guys in Japan for this. This basically reads the pot number of pot number 1 and assigns it to variable 769 all the way up to 799, so that I have the tools I want and the tools that are in the pots, and then I can compare them and see if it works. Otherwise, I'll say missing tool found in pot number 1, pot number 2, or spot number 3 in the code. So anyway, I came up with that. It works awesome. Along with that, I came up with my tool life check. So it's basically saying if variable 1, which is the first tool, in this case tool number 1, plus 801, is less than tool 1 plus 900, and it doesn't equal 0 or null because there's no tool there, then it will either say tool worn out or it will continue. So I came up with all this kind of by myself, and it works great, and you got alarms for every tool that's worn out. And then it's not necessarily tool 11, but it's 11 on this list. So it'd be number here, number 11, which tells me it's my reamer, or my cogsteel tool, really. So anyway, ideally, I don't want these alarms to come up because I want to pre-check it on this screen and have it tell me what tools to replace ahead of time, so that I don't have it mid-process or at the beginning of the code or mid-code or whatever. Yeah, so this lets us see into the future. Now, if only I can automate that and get those USB dump DPrint files to go automatically to my drive, I'd be a pretty happy boy. Jayden from Renishaw, my buddy. I haven't seen him in probably 2 years almost.
It's been a while.
But yeah, he just called me up out of the blue and he's like, I'm standing in front of your shop, can I come in? Of course, of course. So he works for Renishaw Canada, does the probing, you know, the tool setting, the probing. super genius with macro programming, so we've chatted a lot over the years. And he comes in, we show him around, and he's like, can I help you with anything? I'm like, yeah, file transfer, let's do this. Because before I was using the USB stick, we'd have to do it manually. And he's like, I got that. So right now we're going through all the parameter settings. What else would you call it? The
communication settings.
IP addresses.
IPs, yeah, we're trying to do all your data through Ethernet.
Okay.
So that you can pull your data, whether it be probing, tool offsets, macro variables, you know, all the important information.
All the datas.
Make your life easier.
Okay. And you're just about there, right?
Just about there.
Yeah.
We've got the two talking to each other, and we're just doing a test now to your computer so that we can drop it all out.
Okay, so you set up FileZilla on this computer, which is going to be the server.
Yeah, so
explain how that's going to work.
So with Fanuc controls, there's a bunch of different ways that you can store information. If you have a data server option, that means you get to store all of your outputs or your programs sort of on the controller, and it acts as its own FTP server.
Okay.
And then the alternative to that is having that on an external computer, so you can push and pull programs, but also, you know, again, send out printed reports from probing.
Automatically to the server, available to any computer that's kind of attached to that server, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
Yeah, so everything on your main network from wherever you're working.
Good. So ideally, I want to make that program DPrint maybe at the end of every cycle, and then the files just automatically go into the server.
Yeah.
And I haven't shown you yet what I'm doing with those.
Okay.
So I'm tracking tool life with macros.
Yeah.
Every time T1 works, it says +1, +1, +1. So it's counting pallets. So if I want to run 3 pallets, I got to replace tool 9. And say I want to run 30 pallets, these are all the tools that will have to be replaced.
Brilliant.
In order to satisfy 30 pallets worth of machining. So, you know, typically we run 1 or 2. 2 pallets is fine, but 3 is going to need a tool. Now I know this tool lasts for 30 pallets, or maybe I can squeak it up to 45 through experience. You know, you pull it out when it says it's done, and you're like, it's still good.
Yeah.
So then you increase the 900 variables to make it work. And then using the DPrint function, I'm printing onto a USB, and it's just a file like you showed me, right? Kind of random data. And then I hired a programmer on UpWork, and I'm like, I want this data into this spreadsheet automatically.
Yeah. So now with that FTP option, it goes directly to your computer. When you open up this report, it can pull that information automatically, and it's just live.
Yeah. So that ties the whole thing together right now. It used to be so manual.
Yeah.
And it was kind of complicated with the settings changes and everything. But now it's just going to be automatic. So we keep this file open, maybe on that laptop or something.
Yeah.
And then we always know it looks into the future.
It can tell you what's upcoming. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
Especially running more than 1 pallet at a time. Mm-hmm. It helps us just know, like, you might replace them 1 or 2 pallets early, but it's going to work.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh, it's a great tool.
Yeah. Help optimize, track data, right?
Optimization is everything.
Yeah. Process reliability. Tweaking. Yeah, I like it. Yeah. My kind of guy.
Yeah. Yeah, so for DNC, you would be channel 15. For the port that we're using on the Fanuc controller, which is the embedded,
in the back of the
standard I/O port is, and this is what I think I need to just change here. Should be 5, but we'll do this for fun. We'll jump over to 9. Between data server and embedded, they each use a different channel, and it's always between 9 and 5.
Okay.
I just haven't come to memorize.
The settings, and then. Yeah. So some of these settings that we have to change every now and then, he told me there's a magic way called G20 P10 something something that allows us to flop those back and forth as necessary on the fly, which will be really handy.
Yeah, so you got to be careful when you do it, obviously.
Of course.
Because you're writing directly to the controller parameters.
But it's just like any other data. Like, you type in a wrong number, you're going to crash the machine.
Yeah, big time.
Everything about this, everything has to be perfect. But if it works, it works.
Communication protocol, when we do this, is a P open that opens the channel.
Okay.
Right? And
you need that for like a DPrint as well, right?
And then we do a DPrint.
Got it.
Which is not spelled DPrint.
Yeah, it's DPrint.
Yeah. And then we put all of our information into square brackets, no spaces. And by the end of it, close.
You're just printing the word test.
Test. So we want to see that come the other side. Now, if I had my channels wrong, this wouldn't work.
Okay,
Gave
but
me
if
an
your
alarm.
channels are right, it's printing a .dat file
Yeah, so
to the server.
Self-generates a DAT, or typically nowadays a text file.
Okay.
And if it's correct, which that is promising, if you turn no,
you got an error there.
Embedded. Okay, so we're on the right track.
Yeah.
But it looks like we've got probably a permissions thing on your server.
Okay. So you're opening the channel, you're deprinting test, the word test, and then your p-close.
We deprint and we close the channel, and that opens a text file, puts the info in it, closes the text file, and then you should get it on the other side.
So if the Fanuc program transfer tool has comms, that should have comms?
Correct. That's the idea.
So I've been able to use the program transfer tool, which is like it's this yellow CD that the Nakamura guys gave me. It's like $45
it's
or
like
something,
a hidden
right?
secret
Like,
in
yeah.
the Fanuc world,
That's what Kevin was telling me too.
Because it's affordable.
Yeah, it's
and B,
super
makes
cheap.
your life
It's like
so
$45
yeah.
if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
And it gives you maybe not full access to the machine, but to file transfer back and forth really easily.
Yes.
And parameters, pulling off macros like you're seeing. It's very cool.
Yeah, very handy.
Ideally, this program can run any Fanuc machine.
If it's a Fanuc machine and it's on Ethernet,
right?
Yeah, you can talk to it. So if you had 20 machines in here,
That'd
this
be
is
cool.
your DNC system, right?
And then what if you have something like Heidenhain or Siemens, or it all gets different?
It's all different.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, they all have their own thing. Just like your computer has an IP address, so does the machine, and we can come in and set it up. On this side, we've got the FTP settings for that computer, and then on the common side, we've got what the address is for the machine.
Okay.
And occasionally, if we do too many things, we do a restart, wake it up.
It's just a setting.
Yeah, especially if we're changing settings. Now, I do wonder, John, if this may be a case of your router eventually catching up on itself, and then it doesn't like this machine being on the system.
Okay.
So it'd be one of those things that you got to further integrate into your router. The quick way to test that is there is a ping setting on here, so we can bounce to that machine.
Okay.
And it's not talking to it. So
Nice, interesting.
For some reason, they don't want to talk to each other right now.
Would you open up the router settings?
So what we would try to do is, there's a router table. If we go back to common settings, temporarily, 255 is your highest.
He just knows what he's doing.
He just knows what he's doing.
So a lot of the time you get a false negative where this is trying to talk to that because this is Windows 10 and you have a firewall, it says, no, I don't want to talk to you. So you actually have communications, but they're not talking to one another.
So what's the solution?
So solution there is to go back to our handy dandy tool. We'll have to change the settings on that. Now, again, this being the Fanuc transfer tool, you can do a little test in there. So it is talking to it, but when we try to do settings from it, it doesn't want to talk back. So something like that, I'm going to lean on your router is fighting against it. So we had it for a moment, it was doing it, and now we've since lost it.
Interesting.
So we'll see if we can wake it up again.
Okay. In the router, you just need to add permissions or add a...
Yeah, you just need to make sure that, in particular, with the Fanuc, the port number that it's using is 8193. That is for the focus system that it uses, okay? That port needs to be open, an open channel for all of this to communicate.
So I mean, on one hand, Fanuc is Fanuc. They're on all kinds of different machines, but how different are they from builder to builder?
Everybody, it's like taking a Windows environment, but a different company, whether it be say a Dell or another computer company, they tweak it all to make it theirs, right? To finesse it and make it faster, and that's what gives them the so-called competitive edge.
Right.
Is what have they done differently?
Yeah.
But most of that stuff, you hope, like the communication side stays the same.
Right. Well, like the Mori has Fanuc on the back end, but the Mori front end.
Yeah. So Mori uses maps on the front end.
Right.
That is their thing. Just like I know some other machine OEMs do the same thing.
Right.
But on the background, you could have a maps front end, but it'd be a Mitsubishi background or a Fanuc background.
Oh, so the user wouldn't really tell.
No.
Interesting.
I mean, for you just wanted to do
make parts.
Machining,
yeah.
parts. On the back end.
Because it was funny, I had this for like a year and a half, and I got super good at it and comfortable, and then I get the Nakamura, which is also Fanuc, and it's totally different. It's like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing anymore.
Yeah, just in our line of work, it doesn't matter the controller, we have to know it.
Exactly, that's what I'm impressed with, is you're like poking around, you just know what you're doing. Kind of no matter what machine.
I've been changing the IP, but you can see the same MAC address coming up multiple times.
Okay.
So, so there isn't a refresh happening on the network.
Okay.
Okay, so again, we got to go into the router, we got to set that up, have it once and done. That really comes down to how tight your whole network system is locked down, whether you're blocking these things or if they're generally open. Most of the time, it should just, as long as we're not piggybacking on an IP that exists, you put it in, you do the configurations, and you're up and running.
Now, is that due to the actual router box itself?
It may be a case of just doing a reboot overall.
Okay.
And then
of the router?
up. Yeah.
Because it's certainly not a fancy one. It's whatever came with the internet.
Yeah. Okay, so this is the IP table. Most of the time it'll get assigned on the fly. We want to get into the DHCP table, which does all the porting. So there's the range you've got over here. Now, you don't have that many devices, so what I would recommend is you condense it. And what that lets you do is then 255, I believe, and I'm not a network pro at this, I just, from what I've learned, 255 to memory is the highest.
Yeah.
So we'd have to drop it down enough because 255 is already in use. And what that does is if we look at devices already on the network, if they're showing, we can set it so that it's static and it never changes.
Right.
That's good for for a CNC environment.
Everything else becomes dynamic, right?
Yeah. So again, looking at our lease table, so this is everything that's registered on your network already, and we could say clear it and then do a refresh. So everybody who's on your Wi-Fi right now would probably go, why isn't my phone working? And I'm just making sure that our device is not on there. Okay. So what I've just done on your machine here is I've piggybacked off of one of your other PCs.
Could be like that one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to try one more trick here.
Sure.
Two different internals. I've never used PMCIA, but we can switch over from embedded to PMCIA.
Going to reboot each one?
And then reboot it, see if it just keeps forcing it over. And then the final test to that is if we try to spit information from this, it's sort of like, it says, oh, something was on the network and let's register that device. Good.
So it's counting up. What's that doing?
Right now it's talking. Something's talking to it.
Something's happening.
It's the UDP. Interesting. So we weren't using that earlier because traditionally I don't use it. This may be a case where it is using it. Yeah, there's definitely something pulling data from this right now.
Okay.
So we've got the FTP, we've got the focus channels, and I'm gonna go back to see if our ping does anything for us. I don't hold much faith in this one because, like I said, if the machine you're pinging to is firewalled, you're never gonna get anything. So just the same here. Now, if we picked a different device, so something else that's on the network, that one's talking to it. Okay. So your Windows 10 computer with its firewalls, not talking to anything that wants to sort of check if it's there.
Can we change the firewall settings on the computer or is that on the router?
We may need to. We definitely may need to. Oh, I think I know why. All right, so this one's a common one. This is your work environment.
Right.
Right now you have it set as a public space.
Okay, what do you mean by that?
So in Windows 10, and this one can really... slow things down is it's set as a public, so it's hidden from other devices.
Okay.
Right?
That's what we're
So
trying to do.
If you were at a Starbucks and you hook up on the Wi-Fi, you want to be public, you want to be hidden, you don't want people looking at your computer.
Yeah.
If you're in this type of environment, considered private, you want to be on a private setting because it changes the firewall settings. So if we flick that over,
Simple stuff.
simple
but
stuff that can lose
totally gets you.
hours and days.
This is exciting. Aren't you excited?
So exciting.
Ooh, that's new.
Beautiful.
Okay.
Okay, so there you go. So Fanuc transfer tool recognized not only the IP, but it recognized the machine.
Yep.
And we got all the information from the controller. So we save that IP now. Go back here, 251, save it, yes, exit. So from our transfer tool, we're back up and running. We can see the machine.
Excellent.
Good.
But the
So the last piece of the puzzle is to do with the FTP server. So if we have a successful login, if we pull up your program,
yep.
was that in memory?
Yep.
Now what's important here is you have user groups. We need to make sure that we have the right user groups. So basically what this is it says when this user, which is what we've set up in the CNC, logs in, it automatically uses these settings. So it'll put the file in different locations. So you could have 5 machines hooked up, but going to different folders on your computer.
Through the same FTP
Through
server.
the same
Yeah.
FTP,
Okay.
So CNC.
So like
So we're
5,
really
9.
close, but it's one of those last parameters. It's not the channel. It's
4.
not the IP.
I know 4 works to USB, but
Yeah. I've got to think again because Maps is interacting with Fanuc. We got to find the right combination.
right. It's writing. It's writing.
No.
Oh, embedded Ethernet data server error.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm not gonna get excited there because what we should see here is that it tries to log in, it's successfully done it, and then it's gonna take the information.
Okay.
So embedded Ethernet data server error. Now that's a very generic error because it's saying 2 things right there.
Yeah.
And we don't know which one it is. Ah, right. Well, there's one of the cases of read what it tells you, right? So no, we are on 5 is data server, 9 is embedded. 15 is user area. Now this may go back to something you mentioned earlier with this setting here.
Right. Try it. Here, I was using 4, which isn't even a listed option.
No.
And 4 works.
4 is your card.
Okay.
Actually, where's your card?
It's somewhere.
So 4 does this?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's traditionally is 17.
Quick update. So we have called DMG Mori to confirm the setting that we need to be in, the parameter setting. It is 9, which didn't work for us, but it might lead us to believe that the problem is more on the computer side. So we're investigating that, turning off firewalls and trying to figure out what could be holding us up right there. But good to know that it should be parameter 9. It's like a confirmation. So it's stuck on the private side, which is good. So close.
Fix that and fix everything.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know if you run anything special on here for, like this guy here.
Right, that's our shipping printer.
So as long as you don't have anything that's to do with settings. So that was, okay, so we're gonna turn the firewall off.
Sure. What? Firewall off.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, it's great when you can do it on a personal computer, corporate environment.
Sure.
This is something you lose days on. So,
This is a corporate environment.
yeah, there you go. So
Just this big.
It's talking, and I bet you if we did, the way we had it from the get-go, we go back to our program,
Yeah.
rewind,
Yep.
reset,
Hit it.
and there you go, done. I'll have to do some digging.
Okay.
We're one step away. You've got your FTP. It is talking to it. It just doesn't want to do a DPrint, which is new to me. But we also have your Fanuc transfer tool working, so
Sweet.
you're further ahead than you were
Yeah.
this morning.
All right, well, you can think about it, which I'm sure you will.
Yeah.
Super close. There's like one number that's
There's
wrong.
nothing worse than getting that far. And
Yeah,
just
well, it's
like,
okay. I do appreciate the help, and I'm excited to get it
see
going. Awesome.
All right.
Well, thank you so much.
Cool.
Thank you so much, Jayden, for coming in. It's almost working, but it's not fully working yet. I don't remember what we need to do left, but I'm sure we can get this figured out real soon, and hopefully you guys learned something from this video. Thanks for watching. Bye.